Welcome to Knowing Him. This is Steve Danielson.
And this is Angie Danielson.
Join us each week as we explore the hymns of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and share our feelings, insights, and reflections about how each one brings us closer to Jesus Christ.
Enjoy your favorites and find some undiscovered gems in our journey to knowing Him.
Welcome, friends, to today's episode of Knowing Him. I'm your host, Steve Danielson, and as always, I'm here with my pictured beauty of a co-host, Angie.
Hello.
It was hard for me to find something in today's hymn. I was scouring through pictured beauty. I thought that was a wonderful term, so I applied that to you today, Angie. This week we are talking about hymn number 37, The Wintry Day Descending to Its Close. Here we are in the midst of the winter of 2023, so this one felt appropriate today. This is sort of an odd hymn harmonically, so I'm sort of excited to talk about it. But first, saw this coming, we're going to give Angie a little quiz.
Oh, great.
The name of our hymn is The Wintry Day Descending to Its Close, so our quiz today is going to be all about wintry clothes.
Well, at least it's not about this hymn, because that might be a little
It is
harder.
not. It is about wintry clothes, namely long underwear.
What?
So I've got just 5 true or false statements. And those of you at home, you can play along and see how well you do. Can you beat Angie with these true or false questions here? All right, number 1. Long johns are often shown on cartoons with the back flap hanging open, usually for comedic effect.
True.
That is false.
It's false.
That is a union suit. Long johns are 2-piece garments, top and bottom.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're tricking me.
Well, that was something I learned. I didn't know that. Number 2. Long johns were named after a British bare-knuckle fighter, John L. Sullivan, who always entered the ring wearing just his long underwear.
I have no idea, but I'm going to say true.
It's a 50-50 chance, and that is correct. Probably. It's actually not 100% sure where it came from, but that's the most widely accepted theory about where the name came from. Number 3, about union suits. The 1-piece long underwear with ubiquitous flap were invented in the 19th century as women's underwear. True or false?
True.
That is true, though it did not take long for men to adopt the fashion as well.
That's weird.
Number 4, union suits were first called emancipation suits because they freed people from having to change their underwear through the winter.
False.
That is false. They were called emancipation suits because they liberated women from the discomfort of wearing corsets.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. However, number 5, they were eventually called union suits because they were a perfect union between shirt and pants in one seamless garment. True or false?
True.
That is true. And you can still buy union suits today on Amazon, including the flap at the back. So.
I always wanted one of those when I was about 14. I thought that was a cool type of pajamas.
Well, they're still available. You can go buy one. Okay, so let's get to our hymn. The Wintry Day Descending to Our Clothes. To its clothes, not to our clothes. So we're going to first talk about the text. The text of this hymn was written by Orson F. Whitney, born in 1855, died in 1931. So he was born and raised in Utah, sort of the part of that first generation born after the pioneers had reached the valley. And his being raised in Utah is reflected in this hymn. He attended the University of Deseret, which is now the University of Utah. He studied music and oratory. I don't know if oratory is something you can still study. I mean, they probably call it speech and communication is probably what they call it now. But oratory. He also had interest in acting, public speaking, journalism, poetry, history, theology, and politics. So well-rounded.
Dabbling in a lot of things.
Yeah. He became the author of the 4-volume History of Utah. So Utah was near and dear to his heart. He did serve in the Utah State Senate, and he was called as a church historian, so very much into history and journalism, like it mentioned earlier. In 1906, he was called as a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, and he served there for 25 years until he died. In our hymn book, he also wrote the words to Savior, Redeemer of my soul, which we actually just sang this past Sunday in church.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And that's one that more people probably know because Rob Gardner's done a wonderful arrangement of that. That's a lot of people have sung.
Yeah,
So.
different tune, but
Yeah.
same words.
Yeah.
So Elder Boyd K. Packer, who was a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, referred to Orson F. Whitney as a gifted and inspired poet whose work is virtually unknown in the church. So unlike Eliza R. Snow, who is very well known for her poetry, he was known for other things, not necessarily for his poetry, but he had some excellent work as a poet. And he definitely recognized God's hand in his life. I want to relate this story here from LDS Living. He said, as a young man, he wanted to pursue an acting profession out east, but he couldn't afford it. Though reluctant, his mother tried to help him. Quote, "She finally said that if she could sell a piece of land she had, she would give me enough money to take me away. But this she was unable to do. Everything seemed to be in the way of her disposing of that land. I began to feel discouraged. It was now the fall of 1876, and at the October conference, I was called on a mission to the eastern states. I had no sooner signified my intention of going and fulfilling it than plunk came $150 in my hand from the sale of my mother's property. This was to me another evidence of God's overruling providence. I had faith enough even then to recognize in it his all but visible hand."
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So the money was not for him to go pursue an acting career. It was for him to go on a mission. And it wasn't until he said, "Yes, I will go on a mission," that suddenly the money was there.
Yeah, the land sold.
Yeah.
That's great.
So he first published the words to Wintry Day under the title "A Voice from an Absent One" in 1899 in the Latter-day Saints Southern Star, which was a publication of the Southern States Mission.
Well, that's where he was on his mission? Or?
I don't know if he was there or not. I just know that's where it was first published because I didn't see anything about him serving in the Southern States.
Interesting.
He did serve in the Eastern States, so perhaps it was all sort of connected. I'm not sure. But at some point, he was far away from home and reflecting on the home he missed, because that's a lot what this is. The first two verses of this, or stanzas of this poem, sort of set up the other two. The first two stanzas, to sum up, says basically, "At the close of this wintry day, as the earth wraps itself in shadow and the new fallen snow has covered the earth, I leaned on my windowsill and remember home and the beautiful memories found there." And then stanza 3 and 4 are about his home, Deseret, or Utah. He talks of the faith, zeal, and industry of the pioneers who built Salt Lake City and caused the desert to bloom as a rose. And he talks of the templed cities. You know, I think now how many temples are along the Wasatch Front
compared to
there
when
in
he
Utah.
was alive.
Yeah, I mean, compared to when he was alive. We drove from Rexburg down to Provo, and I think counted like 13 temples.
Yeah.
Just in that stretch of road there. It's
amazing.
pretty amazing. So he, like I said, he was born and raised in Utah, and so he's thinking back on all the things that he missed. So I don't know if this is while he was in the British Isles or if he was in the Eastern States or where exactly he was, but he was missing home. And so he, on this wintry day, as it's coming to this close, he's just remembering home and thinking about it.
What did you say it was originally called?
Originally called "A Voice from an Absent One." So he's absent from home, remembering. So I'm going to read the words here to the wintry day. So remember, these first two verses are setting up the other two. "The wintry day descending to its close invites all wearied nature to repose, and shades of night are falling dense and fast, like sable curtains closing o'er the past. Pale through the gloom the newly fallen snow wraps in a shroud the silent earth below, as though 'twere mercy's hand had spread the pall, a symbol of forgiveness unto all. I cannot go to rest, but linger still in meditation at my windowsill, while, like the twinkling stars in heaven's dome, come one by one sweet memories of home. And wouldst thou ask me where my fancy roves, to reproduce the happy scenes it loves, where hope and memory together dwell, and paint the pictured beauties that I tell?" So then here's the third and fourth verse where he talks about his home. "Away beyond the prairies of the west, where exiled saints in solitude were blessed, where industry the seals of wealth has set amid the peaceful vales of Deseret, unheeding still the fiercest blasts that blow, with tops encrusted by eternal snow, the towering peaks that shield the tender sod stand types of freedom reared by nature's God. The wilderness that not before would yield is now become a fertile, fruitful field, where roamed at will the fearless Indian band, the templed cities of the saints now stand. And sweet religion in its purity invites all men to its security. There is my home, the spot I love so well, whose worth and beauty pen nor tongue can tell. So I can see how the song would have been loved by the early saints who are greatly tied to the history in Utah. But as we become more and more of a global church, what applications do you think we can find today? Or is this hymn just outdated? What do you think?
Well, I do think it'll probably be taken out of the new hymn book. But I think we can apply it to our lives and thinking about our families and our, past and our sometimes we think about our childhood with fondness and the things that happen wherever we grew up, and that's something that we love. And so I think that's, what he was remembering, this place that he loved so much. And if you grew up in with the gospel of Jesus Christ, then you have fond memories of that being part of your childhood as well, and remembering people and places that meant so much to you and maybe to your testimony.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing that stuck out to me when I was looking through it, in the fourth stanza, there at the end, he says, "There is my home, the spot I love so well, whose worth and beauty pen nor tongue can tell." Anyone that has left home knows the feeling of longing for home and what that feels like. But then I started thinking about our heavenly home. We've all left this home, and our desire is to return back to our Heavenly Father. And I think if you sort of look at this in that perspective, that Utah for him is his symbol of home, and we can think of that as a symbol of our heavenly home, where we're trying to go and to reflect and meditate on those things that are most important in our lives. I think is an important thing to do. So that's sort of how I was applying.
Oh, that's good. I was just thinking about a place where you maybe grew up or grew in your testimony of the gospel. I never thought when we got married that we would ever live in Washington ever again, and this is where I grew up. But when we moved back here and going to the same church building that I went to when I was a kid and all those things, it was just this is the place that I loved. This is where my testimony grew. These are the people that strengthened my testimony, that were my teachers and leaders, and a lot of them are still here, and
Yeah.
So I can see where he's coming from with that, that it was a wonderful thing to come back to.
Yeah, and the templed cities that it talks about, we have pictures of temples all over our house because each one of them has a significance in our life. The Atlanta temple, I went to a couple times when I was a teenager to do baptisms, but that's also where I received my endowments, and so the Atlanta temple holds a very special place for me, even though I never lived in Atlanta. The Seattle temple is very important. Well, was very important to you before we moved here, even more so since we've been here and go all the time to the temple. But yeah, these different templed cities are important to us as well.
There's more and more of them all over the world.
All over the world.
It's pretty awesome.
Okay, so we're going to turn to the tune. Tune to the turn. We're going to turn to the tune of this song, written by Edward P. Kimball, born 1882, died in 1937. So he was also born in the Utah Territory. This is before Utah became a state. Sort of in a slightly later generation, so about 30 years after Orson F. Whitney. He attended the Latter-day Saints College in Salt Lake City, as well as BYU. Go Cougars. He served a mission in Germany. He served on the Sunday School General Board, served on the General Music Committee of the church. So very active in church life and the things he was doing.
Is he related to any of the other Kimballs that we know of, like Heber C. Kimball or Spencer W. Kimball?
I believe he is related to Heber C. Kimball. I think I remember reading that, but I do not know the exact relation. Yeah. In 1905, he was appointed as the tabernacle organist and served there for 25 years. Music and the spoken word began during his tenure as organist there.
Yeah, that's what I read.
And
that was cool.
his son, Ted Kimball, was the first spoken word.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. He was the Lloyd Newell of their day. He also served as president of the German-Austrian mission from 1929 to 1930. So he wrote the music for Wintry Day, as well as Great God, to Thee My Evening Song. And then he also wrote the text for God Loved Us, So He Sent His Son. So he's in our hymn book both as a composer and a lyricist.
I love that one.
Yeah. The tune for Wintry Day is named Alex. We've talked about how all these hymn tunes have names. Named Alex after the tabernacle organist and composer Alexander Schreiner, who was a sort of a mentor and idol of Edward Kimball.
That song you mentioned, Great God, to Thee My Evening Song, is that in our hymn book?
Yes.
Oh, wow, we never sing that one.
No, that's not one we know.
I don't even recognize that.
That's one to look up.
Yeah.
So Karen Davidson in Our Latter-day Hymn says, quote, "The wintry day descending to its close is a great favorite with many Latter-day Saints." And I thought, is it though?
We hardly ever sing this one.
I didn't ever remember ever hearing this song as I was a kid. Not until I was college. And then even since then, I can only think of a handful of times that we've sung it.
Well, I remember one time when we were first married, you were the choir director and you had us sing this song.
I've had choirs, a couple choirs do it since I've learned about the song.
And it was really the first time that I don't know, we probably maybe sang it when I was a kid, but I didn't really remember it. And I really enjoyed it when you did that arrangement. It was neat.
You know, when I first picked this hymn, I almost expected it to be by Evan Stevens because of the unusual harmonies, and it's just it's not the typical sort of hymn sound that you get, and so, but it's not. You know, Edward Kimball did a great job with this. I really like this hymn because of the unusual harmonies. It has lots of borrowed chords. Secondary chords, non-harmonic tones. I won't do a full analysis, but I mean, you get like a 5/7 of 6 going to 6. You get a 5/7 of 5 going to 5, but then you get things like a 1/9 chord. You don't get a lot of 9 chords in the hymn book. You get a 5/7 chord that resolves to a 5/7 of 4. I mean, there's just so many cool things that happen in the song. I think I first discovered it in a theory class where we were told to look through the hymn book to find an example of a secondary dominant chord in the hymn book. And this was one of the hymns that was brought up. I don't remember if I found this one or if someone else pointed it out, but I was like, this is a really cool hymn.
Raise your hand if you don't have a clue what Steven's talking about.
Sorry. I know I got really music theory nerdy there for a second. So unfortunately, the unusual harmonies do make it more difficult for congregations to sing without a lot of exposure. And congregations don't want the exposure because it's harder to sing. So it's like this catch-22.
So it just doesn't get sung.
It doesn't get sung. Plus, it does have a high tessitura. The soprano line goes up to an F5.
Yeah, it's
so
really high.
That's pretty high. In the 1948 hymnal, it was actually part of the choir section, and then brought into the congregational section here. Because we don't really have a choir section anymore. We have the men's section and the women's section, but not really a choir section in our current hymn book.
Did you say when this hymn was written? I can't remember. Was there a year? Or not exactly?
You know, I did not get the year that Edward Kimball wrote the tune.
I was just wondering if it was in the 1927.
It was not. No, it was not in the 27 hymn book. It was not until the 1948. So a couple things in the 1985 edition changed from 4/4 to 2/2. So instead of writing in eighth notes. You were able to write in quarter notes, made it a little easier to read. Measures are less crowded. There was also a text change in verse 3. Went from Savage Indian Band to Fearless Indian Band. So that was a text change made there. And as much as I like this hymn, I also would not be surprised if this was one that was left on the cutting room floor with the new hymn book. But I'm not on the committee.
Yeah.
If there's an opening on the committee, I am available. Please call me. All right. Before we sing it, I think you have one more piece of information to share with us.
Did you want me to share these other words?
Yeah.
I found online there was someone named Marcus Smith, and it said he worked for KBYU radio as a host, that wrote some different words to this same tune.
Yeah, Marcus is probably listening. So, hi, Marcus.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Anyway, I was surprised. I've never heard anything else written to this tune, but I'll just read the words. It's called Prayer of Gratitude, so it's kind of more of a Thanksgiving song.
Yeah.
As grateful children we assemble here, we come with hearts prepared to worship Thee, to fill our souls with love that conquers fear, to strengthen weary hand and feeble knee. Father in heaven, on this holy day, grant us Thy Spirit, make us whole, we pray. Remember us, help us remember Thee, and seek to do Thy will eternally. Our grateful song, our purest joy and praise, can never match Thine own unequaled love. Thine outstretched hand through tribulation's days has fed our souls with manna from above. How is it, Lord, Thy loving hand extends? How dost Thou deign to call Thy children friends? What offering, Father, were a fitting sign of gratitude for blessings so divine? Shall we not love and serve our fellow men? If we have hope, O Lord, of pleasing Thee, what greater gratitude hast Thou ordained? What sacrifice beyond pure charity? May we be true to every covenant, love Thee alone and Christ whom Thou hast sent. Our eye be single in Thine own true sight, our spirit broken and our heart contrite.
It's really nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful words.
Yeah.
Do that with the ward choir or something.
Yeah. So maybe if they want to keep the hymn tune, some alternate words.
They could put that one in there.
We'll
yeah.
see. Anyway, I believe you have one more thing also about Orson F. Whitney, which
yes.
I really like here.
So like we were talking about, Orson F. Whitney was a poet, and even if not well known, he wrote some great poems. And one of the poems he wrote was a response to the famous poem Invictus. And so when I was at BYU studying marriage, family, and human development, in one of my classes we discussed this, and we talked about the poem Invictus, and then my teacher told us about this poem, and it just I just loved it so much. It was so powerful, his response. So I'm going to read Invictus first. It's by William Ernest Henley. And then...
How about I read Invictus, and then you can respond to me.
Okay. And then Orson F. Whitney's is called The Soul's Captain.
Okay. So here's Invictus. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit, from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
So Orson F. Whitney's response is, Art thou in truth? Then what of him who bought thee with his blood, who plunged into devouring seas and snatched thee from the flood, who bore for all our fallen race what none but him could bear, the God who died that man might live and endless glory share? Of what avail thy vaunted strength apart from his vast might? Pray that his light may pierce the gloom, that thou mayest see aright. Men are as bubbles on the wave, as leaves upon the tree. Thou captain of thy soul, forsooth, who gave that place to thee?
Free will is thine, free agency, to wield for right or wrong, but thou must answer unto him to whom all souls belong. Bend to the dust that head unbowed, small part of life's great whole, and see in him and him alone the captain of thy soul.
No, I like that.
I really love that. I mean, of course, he's referring to Jesus Christ being the captain of our souls. And no matter what we do, we can't do it without Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've looked back at my life and have seen the hand of God steering me. I could not have gotten to where I am without him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're ready to sing the Wintry Day. We're actually going to sing it in a lower key than it's written, so we don't have to go up to the high F. The wintry day, descending to its close, invites all wearied nature to repose, and shades of night are falling dense and fast, like sable curtains closing o'er the past. Pale through the gloom the newly fallen snow wraps in a shroud the silent earth below, as though 'twere mercy's hand had spread the pall, a symbol of forgiveness unto all. I cannot go to rest, but linger still in meditation at my window sill, while like the twinkling stars in heaven's dome come one by one sweet memories of home. And wouldst thou ask me where my fancy roves to reproduce the happy scenes it loves, where hope and memory together dwell, and paint the pictured beauties that I tell? Away beyond the prairies of the West, where exiled saints in solitude were blessed, where industry the seal of wealth has set, amid the peaceful vales of Deseret. Unheeding still the fiercest blasts that blow, with tops encrusted by eternal snow. The towering peaks that shield the tender sod stand types of freedom reared by nature's God. The wilderness that not before would yield is now become a fertile, fruitful field, where roamed at will the fearless Indian band, the templed cities of the saints now stand. And sweet religion in its purity invites all men to its security. There is my home, the spot I love so well, whose worth and beauty pen nor tongue can tell. Had a little rough start, but we got there.
Those last two lines are my favorite tune-wise. I like the
Yeah.
tune, those last two lines.
Well, friends, thank you for joining us today as we discussed the hymn, The Wintry Day Descending to Its Close. As always, it's a joy to be with you and to discuss the hymns. If you'd like to connect with us, please email us at knowinghim@gmail.com or leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/knowinghim. We'd love to hear what you think about the podcast or about the hymns. In the meantime, I hope you'll join us next week as we sing our way to knowing Him.